Welcome to the Sleep Science Space. Tonight we'll drift slowly into the deep blue, sinking beneath calm waves as if our minds are weightless. We're about to explore a realm that covers more than 70% of our planet, the ocean, a silent universe on Earth full of wonder, history, and life beyond imagination. As you listen, allow your breath to slow, let your shoulders soften, and feel your thoughts begin to float like gentle tides under moonlight. This journey is here to help you relax, learn something beautiful before sleep, and perhaps feel a little closer to the mysteries of nature itself. Beneath the water lies a world we rarely see, ancient shipwrecks resting like forgotten memories, bioluminescent creatures glowing like stars scattered across a dark sky, and underwater mountains taller than those we climb on land. The ocean holds stories older than civilizations, secrets carved into the seabed, quiet treasures sleeping in the cold. You are safe, you are here, and together we'll explore 100 mesmerizing truths hidden in the deep. For example, more historical artifacts are preserved underwater than on land. When we picture history, we think of temples, pyramids, and dusty ruins, but the ocean hides far more than any museum ever could. Through storms, battles, and rising seas, countless ships slipped beneath the surface. Entire ports disappeared, and even ancient cities were swallowed by the tide. Down where the water is cold and oxygen is scarce, time slows to almost nothing, keeping wood, metal, and pottery intact for centuries. Roman cargo vessels still rest on the seabed. The lost Greek city of Pavlopatri remains arranged like a ghostly map beneath the waves, one of the oldest submerged towns humankind has found. With sonar scanning and robotic explorers, archaeologists are now uncovering these silent chapters, moments of human life, frozen in the blue darkness. And then there are the creatures who bend the rules of existence itself. Some jellyfish are capable of biological immortality, not in a mystical way, but through a breathtaking scientific process. The tiny Turritopsis doorni, known as the immortal jellyfish, can reverse its aging, returning to its earliest form when threatened or injured, starting life again, like rewinding time, a loop with no true end. Imagine a being that never truly dies, only begins again, drifting quietly through the deep like a soft heartbeat of eternity. As you listen, let each fact settle in your mind like grains of sand falling to the ocean floor, slow, calm, peaceful. The deeper we go, the quieter everything becomes. As you listen, let each fact settle in your mind like grains of sand drifting to the seafloor, slow, calm, peaceful. The deeper we go, the quieter everything becomes. Down here, even time feels different. When threatened, injured, or simply aging, the immortal jellyfish can reverse its own development, shifting its cells back into a youthful polyp state. Scientists call this process transdifferentiation, a biological reset, like turning back the clock of life. It can grow up again, revert again, repeating the cycle with no natural endpoint unless disease or predators intervene. A creature so small yet capable of rewriting the rules of aging, inspiring researchers who study regeneration and the mysterious language of cells. And as we drift further into this blue universe, we find more marvels. Some fish can change their gender during their lifetime, adapting to the needs of their environment. In the world of clownfish, all individuals begin as males, but if the dominant female passes away, the leading male transforms and takes her place. Meanwhile, certain wrasses start life as females before becoming males later on. This fluid transition keeps populations stable, proving that marine life is born to adapt, to survive, to evolve with grace. Beyond life itself, the very shape of the ocean hides wonders. The largest mountain range on Earth is not on land at all, but concealed beneath the waves, the mid-ocean ridge stretching more than 65,000 kilometers around the globe. Here, tectonic plates slowly pull apart, forming newborn crust, where magma rises from the Earth's mantle. These colossal underwater peaks guide currents, shape ecosystems, and remind us that nothing beneath the sea is still. The planet is always moving, breathing, and swaying through this underwater world are kelp forests growing with astonishing speed, sometimes more than a meter in a single day. Towering strands rise like underwater trees, sheltering countless species of fish, invertebrates, and mammals. They feed, protect, absorb carbon, and stabilize the marine world like silent guardians. With every gentle movement, they whisper of life's resilience. Even treasure lives here in unexpected forms. The ocean contains more gold than all the mines on land, combined nearly 20 million tons dissolved within its waters. Spread so thin only parts per trillion, invisible to the eye, and impossible to harvest today. Carried by rivers, by volcanic vents, by the pulse of the Earth's geology, the gold drifts endlessly in circulation. In rare places it settles, hinting at the riches hidden in the deep, waiting for technology or time to catch up. And still, this is only the beginning. The deeper we descend, the more the sea unfolds itself, like a dream no one has fully explored. For now, this vast ocean of dissolved gold remains a quiet secret, a treasure hidden in plain sight, reminding us just how rich and mysterious the sea truly is. And as we continue our descent, we reach places so deep that human imagination alone struggles to measure them. The Mariana Trench, far out in the western Pacific, falls to depths greater than the height of Mount Everest. Its deepest point, known as Challenger Deep, sinks almost 11 kilometers below the surface of the water. If the tallest mountain on Earth were placed at the bottom of this trench, even its snowy summit would still lie beneath more than a kilometer of dark, crushing sea. Down there, pressure becomes unimaginable, more than 1,000 times greater than what we feel at the surface, a world of eternal night where only the most extraordinary organisms survive. Yet life does survive. Expeditions have found strange and resilient creatures thriving in this abyss, defying heat, cold pressure, and everything we once believed life needed to exist. The ocean reminds us nature is far more adaptable than we know, and what we've seen is only a fraction. Though the ocean covers over 70% of our planet, more than 80% of it remains unexplored. Vast trenches, hidden ridges, sweeping plains of midnight darkness, entire worlds we've barely touched. But with new technologies, remote submersibles, autonomous drones, high resolution sonar, we are slowly peeling back the ocean's veil. Each journey uncovers new landscapes, new species, new stories that deepen our understanding of Earth itself. The sea is one of our last great frontiers, holding answers to questions we haven't yet learned to ask. In the shallower waters, life behaves differently, yet still beautifully. Sea otters, for example, are clever enough to use tools. You might see one floating on its back, balancing a rock on its belly like a small table. It dives for clams or sea urchins, returns to the surface and cracks the shell open by striking it against the stone. Sometimes they carry their favorite rock with them, tucked in a loose patch of fur like a pocket. Mothers teach their pups this skill, passing knowledge through generations, proof that intelligence and culture are not ours alone, but shared with the beings of the sea. And the sea holds more life than the land itself. It is the most biodiverse habitat on Earth. From invisible plankton drifting like cosmic dust to massive whales singing across entire oceans, the water is alive in every direction. Coral reefs glow with color, kelp forests sway like underwater cathedrals, volcanic vents host creatures that live without sunlight at all. Polar seas warm lagoons, uncharted depths. The ocean is a library of life, so vast that millions of species may still be waiting to be discovered. The deeper we go, the more the ocean feels infinite, a world of secrets, life, and time, held in blue silence. Many species in this silent world remain unseen by human eyes. Especially in the deep sea, new forms of life are still waiting like unopened pages in a book. Some glow, some drift, like living ghosts, and some are so strange they challenge the way we define life itself. This astonishing diversity forms intricate food webs that keep Earth in balance, every tiny plankton, every giant whale, each one part of a delicate system that sustains the planet. Among these wonders lie the coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea. Though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they shelter nearly a quarter of all marine species. Tiny coral polyps, smaller than a grain of rice, build vast limestone structures over centuries, creating underwater cities where fish, algae, and invertebrates find food and safety. Reefs soften waves that crash toward shore, protect coastlines from storms, and paint the water with color and life. But they are fragile, sensitive to warming seas and increasing acidity. Their future depends on how gently we care for this planet we share. Beneath these colorful worlds, the seafloor is alive with fire and stone. Thousands of underwater volcanoes rise along tectonic boundaries, releasing molten lava that cools instantly, forming new crust. Over time, these eruptions build mountains and islands that reshape the map of the ocean itself. From their vents pour minerals and gases that feed ecosystems where sunlight never reaches. Here, life thrives on chemistry, not light proof that nature can bloom even in darkness. Tube worms, crustaceans, and strange fish gather around hydrothermal vents like stars around a sun warmed by the Earth's inner heat. Connecting these realms is the ocean's great conveyor belt, known as thermohaline circulation. Warm, salty water travels from the tropics to the poles where it cools and sinks into the deep beginning, a slow journey across the seafloor back toward the equator. This endless loop moves heat nutrients and life itself around the world. It shapes climate feeds ecosystems and links distant oceans like veins in a living body. If this circulation slows or shifts weather patterns, and marine life could change dramatically, the ocean breathing differently, altering the rhythm of Earth. And in the deepest darkness, where sunlight has never touched, many creatures create their own light. Through bioluminescence, chemical reactions inside their bodies produce soft glows, blues, greens, sometimes ghostly white. Anglerfish dangle shining lures before their mouths to draw prey close. Squid flash patterns of light to confuse predators. Jellyfish bloom like luminous galaxies underwater. This glow is communication, camouflage, survival, beauty with purpose shining where day has never existed. Among all these beings, the largest animal ever to live on Earth drifts through the blue with slow and powerful grace. The blue whale, even larger than the dinosaurs, can reach 30 meters in length and weigh up to 200 tons, the weight of more than 30 elephants moving as one. Yet it feeds on tiny krill, swallowing thousands of liters of seawater to filter out these minute organisms. Its heart is the size of a small car, pumping life through a body built for the ocean alone. Its calls echo for miles deep and resonant, like the voice of the sea itself. And still our journey continues, deeper, calmer, into the heart of this underwater universe. Blue whales are a majestic reminder of the ocean's vastness and the extraordinary scale of life it supports. The ocean's salinity varies across different regions. Ocean water isn't equally salty everywhere. Salinity, which is the concentration of dissolved salts, changes depending on location, temperature, evaporation, and freshwater input. For example, the Red Sea is one of the saltiest bodies of water due to high evaporation and low rainfall, while the Baltic Sea has much lower salinity because it receives large amounts of river water. These differences in saltiness affect water density currents and even where certain marine species can thrive. Salinity also plays a crucial role in regulating ocean circulation and climate patterns across the globe. Some coral reefs are over 10,000 years old. Coral reefs are among the oldest living structures on Earth, continuously growing for thousands of years. These ancient reefs have survived major shifts in sea level climate change and changes in ocean chemistry. They are vibrant underwater cities that support nearly a quarter of all marine species. Their longevity and complexity make them vital for biodiversity for fisheries and for protecting coastal regions. Yet today, they face rising threats from warming waters, pollution, and human activity, reminding us how important conservation truly is. The ocean is home to the largest living structure on the planet, the Great Barrier Reef. Stretching for more than 2,300 kilometers off the coast of Australia, this enormous reef system is built by billions of tiny coral polyps over countless generations. It is so large that it can even be seen from space. Thousands of species, from fish to corals to marine mammals, depend on it for survival. Beyond its ecological importance, the reef protects coastlines from erosion and supports local economies through tourism and fishing. But like many marine environments, it is under threat from climate change, coral bleaching, and pollution, making its protection more urgent than ever. The deep sea is the largest habitat on Earth by volume. Even though the ocean surface covers most of the planet, everything below 200 meters, the deep ocean makes up more than half the Earth's surface and holds over 90% of the ocean's water. It is a world of darkness, extreme pressure, and near freezing temperatures. Yet life thrives there in forms we are only beginning to understand. Strange fish with bioluminescent bodies, slow drifting jelly creatures, and organisms adapted to pressures strong enough to crush submarines. Still, the deep sea remains one of Earth's most mysterious realms, with countless species yet to be discovered. But not all ocean regions are full of life. The ocean's dead zones are areas with dangerously low oxygen levels, making survival nearly impossible for most marine organisms. These hypoxic zones are often caused by nutrient pollution from agriculture and rivers, which lead to massive algae blooms. When the algae die and decompose, they consume oxygen and suffocate other life. Dead zones disrupt ecosystems, collapse fisheries, and are growing in number worldwide. They remind us that the ocean, though vast, is vulnerable. At the bottom of the sea, where sunlight never reaches life, finds another way. Hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers near volcanic zones, release mineral-rich water heated by the Earth's interior. Around these vents exist ecosystems powered not by sunlight, but by chemosynthesis. Bacteria convert chemicals like hydrogen sulfide into energy, forming the base of a unique food chain. Giant tube worms, strange clams, and alien-like fish survive there, challenging what we once believed about where and how life can exist. And among the ocean's many giants, one stands out: the sperm whale. It has the largest brain of any animal on Earth, weighing around 7 kilograms, or about 15 pounds. This remarkable creature dives to great depths in search of squid, navigating a world of darkness using echolocation. The ocean is full of wonders, like this vast, mysterious, powerful, and alive. This massive brain supports complex behaviors, including deep diving, sophisticated vocal communication, and well-organized social structures. Sperm whales are capable of diving more than 2,000 meters into the deep ocean to hunt giant squid, using echolocation to navigate and detect prey in absolute darkness. Their intelligence and tight-knit societies make them one of the most fascinating species to study when exploring marine cognition and the evolution of large brains. Ocean waves can travel thousands of miles across the sea without losing much of their energy. Formed by winds sweeping across the ocean surface, waves can journey vast distances, carrying the power of distant storms all the way to faraway shores. Swell waves from Pacific storms, for example, can reach places like Hawaii and even the coasts of California, demonstrating the sheer reach and persistence of ocean energy. This long distance wave travel affects navigation, surfing conditions, and even nutrient distribution along coastal zones. The ocean absorbs around the 30% of the carbon dioxide produced by human activities, such as burning fossil fuels. Acting as a massive carbon sink, the ocean helps slow global warming, but this process also triggers chemical changes in seawater, known as ocean acidification. Acidification threatens marine life, especially organisms that rely on calcium carbonate to build their shells and skeletons, like corals, oysters, and clams. Scientists continue to study how this ongoing absorption of carbon is reshaping marine ecosystems and what it means for the planet's climate future. The ocean holds nearly 20 times more carbon than the atmosphere. This astonishing reservoir plays a vital role in regulating Earth's climate. Tiny marine plants called phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. When these organisms die, their carbon rich bodies sink to the seafloor, trapping carbon for centuries, sometimes even millennia. This natural storage process helps balance global carbon levels, though environmental changes threaten to disrupt it. Phytoplankton populations experience the seasonal blooms so large they can be seen from space. Under the right conditions, with enough sunlight and nutrients, these microscopic plants multiply rapidly, coloring entire regions of the ocean in swirling shades visible from satellite images. These blooms fuel the entire marine food chain, supporting fish whales and countless other species. However, some blooms become harmful, producing toxins that endanger marine animals and even humans. Monitoring phytoplankton from space helps scientists evaluate ocean health and track changing ecosystems on a global scale. Mangrove forests protect coastlines and serve as powerful carbon sinks. Growing along warm tropical shores, mangroves stabilize coastlines with their complex root systems, reducing erosion and absorbing the impact of waves and storm surges. Mangroves store remarkable amounts of carbon in both their wood and the soil beneath them, often far more than land forests by area. These unique ecosystems also act as nurseries for fish habitats for birds and biodiversity hotspots essential for coastal life and climate resilience. Earth's deep ocean trenches are among the least explored places on the planet. Places like the Mariana Trench and the Tonga Trench plunge thousands of meters below the surface into pitch black pressure filled worlds that remain almost completely unknown. Despite the hostile environment, life persists, strange, resilient creatures adapted perfectly to the crushing depths. Every expedition reveals something new, hinting that the ocean still holds secrets beyond imagination. Exploring these trenches helps scientists push the boundaries of what life can endure and reveals valuable clues about Earth's geology. Yet, even with modern technology, these underwater abysses remain mostly mysterious, silent worlds where far more is unknown than known. One of the most unusual ocean events in recent decades is something scientists nicknamed the blob, a massive region of unusually warm water that appeared in the Pacific Ocean. Stretching for hundreds of miles, it altered currents, disrupted ecosystems, and influenced animal behavior in dramatic ways. Fish migration patterns changed, marine food chains became unbalanced, and weather along North America's west coast shifted toward drought and irregular climate events. The blob is a striking reminder of how sensitive the ocean is and how a change in temperature can ripple across entire ecosystems and even continents. The ocean is also a powerful source of renewable energy. Tides driven by the gravitational pull of the moon rise and fall with clockwork precision, allowing underwater turbines to capture that movement and convert it into electricity. Waves themselves hold energy too, rocking back and forth with enough force to drive generators. While the technology is young and still faces environmental and engineering challenges, tidal and wave power hold promise for a future where coastal regions generate clean energy directly from the sea. And sometimes the ocean puts on a show of pure magic. Sea sparkle, a shimmering glow that lights up beaches at night, is created by bioluminescent algae that flash when disturbed. Every crashing wave becomes a neon ribbon. Every step through shallow water leaves a glowing blue trail. This isn't just beautiful, it's biological. The light can startle predators, communicate, or attract mates, a glowing language in the darkness. But the ocean isn't only filled with wonders, it also carries scars from human activity. Microplastics, tiny fragments, smaller than a grain of rice, now drift through every corner of the sea. They float on the surface, swirl in currents, and settle like dust on the ocean floor. Fish, turtles, birds, even whales can ingest them unknowingly, allowing toxins to work their way through the food web and eventually to our own plates. Microplastics are a quiet but growing crisis, challenging us to rethink waste consumption and our relationship with plastic itself. Despite these challenges, the ocean remains Earth's great life support system. More than half of the oxygen we breathe is produced by microscopic phytoplankton drifting near the surface. They may be tiny, invisible to the naked eye, but together they form vast living fields that turn sunlight into oxygen and fuel the entire marine food chain. Without them, our world would be unrecognizable. Ocean currents also help maintain balance on our planet. Acting like a global conveyor belt, they move warm water from the equator toward the poles and cold water back again, distributing heat and nutrients. The Gulf Stream alone carries warm Caribbean water across the Atlantic, making Western Europe far milder than regions at the same latitude. If these currents shift or slow, entire climate systems could change, triggering severe weather temperature swings and ecological disruption. And beneath the waves, the ocean has its own kind of weather. Underwater tornadoes, known as vortices, swirl like spiraling columns that can stretch for miles beneath the surface. Formed when currents clash or bend around obstacles, these rotating masses of water transport heat, salt, and nutrients across the deep. Invisible to the casual observer, they are part of the ocean's hidden heartbeat, powerful silent forces shaping the world below. Vortices don't just spin beneath the waves, they change the ocean itself. By mixing nutrients, redistributing heat, and shaping underwater habitats, These swirling water columns influence where life can thrive. In a way, the ocean below is every bit as dynamic and alive as the atmosphere above. Far deeper still, the seafloor opens into great open stretches known as abyssal plains, some of the flattest regions on Earth. These vast plains stretch for thousands of kilometers, shaped over millions of years, as fine sediments drift down through the water column and settle like dust. Here, in cold darkness and immense pressure, strange and resilient creatures take root, proving that even the quietest corners of Earth are full of life. Above them, massive ice sheets in Antarctica and Greenland hold enough frozen water to reshape the world. When they melt, sea levels rise. When they grow, oceans fall. Fresh meltwater can disrupt ocean currents by changing salinity, altering climate systems and marine habitats across the globe. In this way, distant polar ice is tightly connected to coastal cities, coral reefs, and even the weather we feel each day. Sharks, meanwhile, carry one of the most remarkable senses in the animal kingdom. Through tiny organs, known as the ampullae of Lorenzini, they can detect faint electrical fields produced by the muscles of other animals, even beneath sand or murky water. This superpower helps them hunt with incredible precision, securing their place as some of the ocean's most efficient predators. Descending into the mesopelagic zone, the ocean's mysterious twilight region, sunlight fades into a dim blue haze. Too little light for plants to grow, yet just enough to reveal shapes moving in the deep. Many creatures here have enormous eyes to gather every possible glimmer, while others glow with bioluminescent light to communicate, attract prey, or disappear into the darkness. It is a world suspended between day and night. Once each year, entire coral reefs synchronize in a breathtaking event known as mass spawning. Under moonlit water and perfect conditions, corals release eggs and sperm all at once, a floating blizzard of life drifting across the sea. This rare moment ensures new generations can grow renewing reefs that support thousands of species and hold some of the highest biodiversity pits on Earth. In cooler waters, forests made of towering kelp sway with the currents. These underwater canopies shelter fish, invertebrates, otters, and countless tiny organisms. They soften waves, protect coastlines, and store vast amounts of carbon, acting as green guardians of the sea. Fast-growing and vibrant kelp forests are among the most productive ecosystems on the planet. Other ocean creatures rely on speed instead of shelter. Some squid escape danger with jet propulsion pulling water into their bodies, then firing it out like a burst of energy. In an instant, they shoot backward through the water, vanishing from predators in a flash of motion, a perfect blend of agility and survival. The ocean's salt, familiar yet ancient, finds its origin in volcanic minerals and the slow weathering of rock over billions of years. Rivers carry dissolved minerals into basins where water evaporates, leaving salt behind. Sodium chloride, the same salt we taste at the shore, has been accumulating for ages, creating conditions suited for marine life to evolve and flourish. Many animals, however, don't just survive, they navigate with astonishing precision. Sea turtles, whales, and certain fish can sense Earth's magnetic field like an invisible compass guiding them across thousands of kilometers. They return to feeding grounds, migrate through open oceans, and even find the very beaches where they were born, all through a map written into the planet itself. Sea turtles, salmon whales, and even some species of fish have the extraordinary ability to sense Earth's magnetic field. They use these magnetic cues, like a built in compass, to navigate across the vast ocean, finding breeding grounds, feeding areas, and migration routes with astonishing precision. Thanks to this sense called magnetoreception, many of them can travel thousands of kilometers and still return to the exact place where they were born. Scientists are still uncovering how this magnetic detection works, but one thing is certain: it plays a crucial role in their survival. Among the ocean's wonders, sea stars stand out as masters of regeneration. When a sea star loses an arm to predators or injury, it doesn't just heal, it can grow a new one. Even more incredible, some species are capable of regenerating an entirely new body from just one arm and a portion of the central disc as long as key tissues remain. Inside them, complex cellular processes rebuild nerves, muscles, and skeleton. Their remarkable healing power continues to inspire scientific research into regeneration and medicine. But while the ocean is filled with miracles, it also faces growing threats. Plastic pollution is breaking down into microplastics particles smaller than 5 millimeters, now found from shallow waters to the deepest trenches. Tiny organisms, such as plankton and filter feeders, easily ingest these particles, allowing plastic to enter the food chain at its very base. As fish and larger predators consume contaminated prey, microplastics travel up the food web, eventually reaching seafood eaten by humans. This raises serious concerns about ecosystem health and the safety of what ends up on our plates. Reducing plastic waste is no longer an option, it is a necessity. Another challenge silently spreading through the seas is ocean acidification. As carbon dioxide dissolves into seawater, the ocean becomes more acidic. This shift makes it harder for clams, oysters, crabs, corals, and other shell-building species to form and maintain their protective structures made of calcium carbonate. In more acidic waters, shells weaken growth, slows, and entire ecosystems, including fisheries communities depend on, are put at risk. Scientists around the world are closely tracking chemical changes to protect future marine life. While the ocean feels infinite, the layer that supports most life is surprisingly thin. The surface mixed layer, only a few meters deep, absorbs sunlight that powers photosynthesis for phytoplankton, the tiny plants producing over half of Earth's oxygen. This layer also forms the boundary where the ocean exchanges gases with the atmosphere, helping regulate climate and weather. Though thin, it is essential for life on the planet. Communication also thrives beneath the waves. Marine mammals like whales, dolphins, and seals use complex vocalizations, songs, clicks, whistles, and calls to communicate identity, location, social bonds, and even mating readiness. Some whale songs travel hundreds of miles across the ocean like haunting melodies echoing through the deep. Scientists study these sounds to understand their societies and to track how human noise disrupts their communication networks. Deep below the surface lies underwater lakes and rivers, surreal landscapes where dense, salty brine pools flow like rivers across the seafloor without mixing with surrounding water. These alien environments host organisms capable of surviving extreme chemical conditions, expanding our understanding of life's adaptability. And despite constant input of minerals from rivers and volcanic activity, the ocean has maintained a remarkably stable salt content for millions of years, a balance shaped by geological cycles and planetary forces over deep time. This balance is maintained through complex natural processes that gradually remove salt from seawater. Minerals settle into deposits, while countless marine organisms use salt to build their shells and skeletons. Over millions of years, these mechanisms have kept ocean salinity stable, a delicate equilibrium essential for species adapted to specific salt levels and for climate systems driven by global currents. In the world beneath the waves, some fish have evolved a skill we humans cannot imagine: the ability to see ultraviolet light. UV vision grants them an advantage in hunting prey, avoiding predators, and even recognizing potential mates through patterns invisible to the human eye. In bright coastal waters, ultraviolet light enhances contrast, allowing these fish to perceive details we simply cannot. This remarkable adaptation showcases how diverse and specialized marine vision can be. Communication underwater reaches astonishing distances. Whale songs, rhythmic, complex, and hauntingly beautiful, can travel thousands of kilometers across the ocean. Through these low-frequency calls, whales can locate each other, form social bonds, navigate and attract mates even when separated by vast stretches of water where light cannot reach. Scientists continue to study these songs in hopes of better protecting whale populations threatened by ship noise and human activity. Ocean currents, like massive conveyor belts, don't just move heat and nutrients, they also carry pollutants. A piece of plastic discarded on one coastline can drift across entire oceans, eventually collecting in remote regions like the Pacific garbage patches. Currents spread chemicals and debris far beyond national borders, transforming pollution into a global challenge. By understanding circulation patterns, researchers can predict the movement of waste and develop solutions to stop pollution at its source. Even the ocean's top predators face vulnerability. Great white sharks and other apex hunters often mature slowly, taking many years to reproduce and producing only a few offspring in their lifetimes. This slow reproduction rate makes them extremely sensitive to overfishing and environmental change. If their numbers fall, the entire food web can be disrupted. Protecting these powerful but fragile predators is essential for maintaining balanced marine ecosystems. On the ocean floor, a lesser-known hero works silently: the sea cucumber. Slow and soft-bodied, it crawls through sediment, feeding on organic debris. As it digests waste and returns nutrients to the seabed, it enriches the environment for microorganisms, algae, and countless small creatures. In doing so, sea cucumbers oxygenate the seafloor and prevent toxic buildup, acting as engineers of the deep ocean. Without them, entire benthic ecosystems could begin to fail. Not all ocean creatures rely on size or speed for survival. Some defend themselves or hunt with deadly venom. The box jellyfish, almost transparent and deceptively delicate, carries venom so powerful it can stop a human heart in minutes. Stonefish hide perfectly among rocks, armed with spines, capable of delivering excruciating toxin. Even the beautiful cone snail wields a harpoon like tooth filled with neurotoxic venom strong enough to paralyze prey instantly. Though terrifying, these poisons also hold promise. Scientists study venom, hoping to develop new medicines for pain relief, heart disease, and even cancer. The ocean's deadliest weapons may one day save lives. Life in the ocean continues to surprise us with its resilience, even where salt levels are extreme, far beyond what most species can tolerate. Certain marine plants endure. In salt marshes and coastal lagoons, where evaporation concentrates salt to harsh levels, plants and algae have evolved remarkable strategies. Some flush excess salt from their cells, while others lock it away safely. Mangroves, for example, use intricate root systems to filter seawater, allowing them to prosper in coastal swamps while shielding shorelines from erosion and storms. These salt-tolerant species are vital to coastal ecosystems, offering habitat to birds and fish, storing vast amounts of carbon and reminding us that life can adapt even in the harshest conditions. But the environment is changing. Over the past century, ocean surface temperatures have steadily risen. Human activities, from burning fossil fuels to deforestation, have warmed the atmosphere, and the ocean has absorbed much of this excess heat. Coral reefs bleach under prolonged warmth. Fish migrate to cooler waters, food webs shift, and storms grow more intense. A slight increase in temperature may seem small, yet its influence ripples through ecosystems and weather systems across the globe. Scientists monitor these changes closely, knowing the health of the ocean reflects the health of our planet. Among the creatures that roam these waters is the oceanic white-tip shark, powerful, curious, and historically one of the most aggressive toward humans. Recognizable by the bright white patches on its fins, this apex predator often investigates unfamiliar objects, boldly sometimes placing divers and shipwreck survivors at risk. Yet despite its reputation, the white tip plays a crucial role in maintaining healthy food chains. Sadly, overfishing and habitat decline now threaten the species, proving that even dominant predators are not invincible. Meanwhile, a hidden world even smaller than plankton shapes the ocean in silence. Microscopic viruses, trillions upon trillions, drift through the water, outnumbering every other biological form on Earth. Though invisible, they regulate marine life by infecting bacteria and microbes, recycling nutrients each time they break down a cell. In doing so, they help drive carbon cycles and sustain the very foundation of the oceanic food web. These tiny entities, though unnoticed, are architects of balance in the sea. At the heart of many reefs lies another partnership, delicate symbiotic and essential. Coral polyps, tiny animals building vast limestone cities beneath the waves, host microscopic algae within their tissues. The algae capture sunlight and convert it into energy, feeding the coral and enabling it to grow. In return, the coral gives shelter and nutrients. This bond allows reefs to flourish even in nutrient poor waters where resources are scarce. But the relationship is fragile. When water warms or pollution rises, corals expel their algae, turning white, starving, and sometimes dying. Coral bleaching is not just a loss of color, it is a warning echoing through entire ecosystems that depend on reefs for survival. Though it blankets only about 7% of the ocean's surface, sea ice carries influence far beyond its size. In the polar regions, bright ice reflects sunlight back into space like a mirror, helping stabilize the Earth's temperature and prevent runaway warming. It forms hunting grounds and nurseries for seals, penguins, and polar bears, entire lives built upon frozen water. Yet as global temperatures rise, this shield of ice thins and retreats. Dark ocean absorbs heat where white ice once reflected it, amplifying warming in a dangerous feedback loop. Melting also alters ocean circulation patterns, shifting weather systems around the globe. For climate scientists, sea ice is one of Earth's most sensitive warning signals, fragile, vital, and rapidly changing. Along coastlines where fresh water meets the sea, mangroves stand like guardians. These trees endure salt levels that would kill most plants, thanks to root systems that filter seawater before it reaches their trunks. Any salt that remains is stored in old leaves later shed like a burden released. Because of this remarkable adaptation, mangrove forests flourish in muddy, oxygen-poor shores. They soften the force of waves, provide nurseries for young fish, capture vast amounts of carbon, and hold coastlines together like living armor. Not all life waits for protection, some create their own. Many fish can transform their colors in seconds, shifting patterns across their skin like liquid paint. Specialized pigment cells expand or tighten to match sand, coral, or shadow. A flounder can vanish against the ocean floor, while a cuttlefish becomes a swirling display of color during courtship or confrontation. These shifts signal danger, attract a mate, or hide from sharp-eyed predators. In a world of hunters and hunted, the ability to disappear can mean survival. High above, in the sunlit layers of the sea life, is born, and when it dies, it falls. A slow, steady rain of organic particles drifts through the water column like snow. Tiny plankton bodies waste fragments, bits of algae together, forming what scientists call marine snow. As it sinks into darkness, it feeds deep-sea creatures that may never see daylight. This gentle snowfall is a conveyor of nutrients and a vital part of Earth's carbon cycle, carrying carbon from surface waters down into the abyss where it may rest for centuries. In shallows, where sunlight still reaches the seafloor, vast meadows of seagrass sway with the tides. These and underwater fields are among the planet's most powerful carbon sinks, locking carbon deep within roots and sediment, a natural climate solution hidden beneath the waves. Seagrass stabilizes sandy shores, filters water, and provides grazing grounds for turtles and refuge for countless species. Each blade of grass quietly works to store carbon that would otherwise warm the atmosphere, making these meadows essential to Earth's future. And in the realm of adaptation and cooperation, even the smallest creatures find allies. Some crab species wield sea anemones like living shields, gripping them atop their claws. The anemone's stinging tentacles defend the crab from predators, while the anemone gains food scraps and mobility it otherwise lacks. Predator approaches, the crab raises its armed claws, and the ocean reminds us how partnership can become survival. Deeper in the reefs, ancient giants quietly breathe. Giant barrel sponges, vast vase-shaped pillars of living tissue, can survive for thousands of years. Some are believed to have lived for more than 2 millennia, witnessing centuries of changing seas. Each day they draw in tremendous amounts of water, filtering bacteria and tiny organic particles, helping to keep coral ecosystems clean and balanced. Their bodies grow slowly, layer by layer, like rings within a tree. Within those layers lie chemical traces and temperature signatures, a biological archive of the ocean's past, written in living flesh. But age does not make them invincible. Pollution, warming waters, and careless hands can shatter what took centuries to build. Protecting them is protecting the memory of the ocean itself. Even the turning of the tides guides life beneath the waves. Many creatures, fish, crabs, even coral, time their reproduction to the rhythm of the moon and sea. When tides rise, thousands of tiny eggs are released like glitter in the water, carried safely away from predators and spread to new homes. Synchronized spawning increases the chances of survival, matching the ocean's pulse with the needs of newborn life. In this dance between gravity and biology, the moon becomes a silent partner in the creation of life. Some hunters don't rely on sight at all, they feel the world through electricity. Certain fish possess the astonishing ability to generate and sense electric fields, turning darkness into a map of signals. Electric eels unleash powerful bursts to stun prey or defend themselves, while elephantfish and knifefish emit gentle pulses like whispers in the water to navigate and communicate. This electric sense acts like natural radar, revealing shapes and movement where light cannot reach. It's a reminder that in the ocean, perception takes forms we can barely imagine, and in the deep, where oil seeps up naturally from the seafloor, life thrives in places that seem uninhabitable. Hydrocarbons rise slowly into the water, and specialized bacteria feast on them, becoming the foundation of an entire food chain. Tube worms, clams, and other creatures gather around these seeps, forming communities that look nothing like tropical reefs, yet they flourish all the same. Here in darkness and oil, life finds a way. These ecosystems prove that the ocean is endlessly inventive, resilient, adaptive, and profoundly alive. At the ocean's surface lies a thin and shimmering world, a place where water meets air and where life floats weightlessly in the sunlight. This layer is home to a community of drifting organisms known as the Newston. Here, Tiny algae bacteria, jellyfish larvae, and delicate sea snails ride the waves like travelers at the ocean's rooftop. Though small, they are vital, forming the first links of the food web and cycling nutrients that feed the sea from above. Yet because they live in this fragile boundary, they feel every change instantly pollution, warming a shift in wind. Studying the Newston is like reading the ocean's pulse in real time. On the reefs below, some of the smallest creatures act like architects. Marine worms, including the brilliantly colored Christmas tree worm, build intricate calcium carbonate tubes within corals. These tubes become tiny fortresses, offering shelter not only for the worms themselves, but also for shrimp crabs and countless microscopic life forms. With each structure they add, the reef grows more complex, more alive. They are miniature engineers quietly shaping the foundations of underwater cities. Not all the ocean's forces are gentle. Most waves are born from wind building energy across the surface and traveling for thousands of kilometers. But sometimes waves rise from the planet's deep heartbeat, from earthquakes, landslides, or volcanic shifts beneath the sea. These can become tsunamis racing across oceans at the speed of a jet and reshaping coastlines in moments. Ordinary waves guide sailors and sculpt beaches. Tsunamis remind us of the ocean's power. Even its life can arrive in overwhelming numbers. Certain jellyfish gather into vast blooms stretching for miles across the water. They compete with fish for food clog fishing nets and even shut down power plant intakes when they drift too close to shore. These outbreaks can be triggered by warming seas, nutrient pollution, or the decline of predators. Blooms disrupt balance, yet they are also part of nature's rhythm, a signal that the ocean is shifting. And then there is the largest fish on Earth, the whale shark. A giant in size, gentle in nature. Reaching 12 meters long or more, they glide through warm seas with mouths wide open, filtering plankton and tiny fish through comb-like gill structures. Slow-moving, peaceful, and curious, they inspire awe wherever they roam, proof that power and gentleness can exist together in a single body. Above them, seabirds follow invisible highways of wind and current. Albatrosses, petrels, and other wanderers cross entire oceans with barely a flap of their wings, using dynamic soaring to glide endlessly over waves. They connect distant ecosystems, carrying nutrients across continents, stitching together the ocean's vastness with each journey. And through it all, the ocean breathes water into the sky. Heat from the sun lifts enormous amounts of moisture, upward building clouds that release rain and snow across the world. This endless cycle fuels monsoons, shapes seasons, and governs life on land as much as in the sea. Every storm, every river, every drop returning to the ocean begins with evaporation off its surface. Warm ocean waters breathe moisture into the sky, feeding storms that travel across the planet. Currents carry this vapor around the globe, shaping rainfall droughts and floods. When ocean temperatures shift, the world feels it crops. Change, rivers swell, forests dry, and weather patterns transform like pages in a turning book. Below the waves, evolution writes stories even stranger. Some sea slugs can steal chloroplasts from the algae they eat, storing them inside their own cells, like living solar panels. Through a process called kleptoplasty, they use sunlight to make energy half animal, half plant, quietly glowing with borrowed power. This remarkable adaptation blurs the boundary of what we think life can be. Coral reefs also carry memories. Layer by layer, coral skeletons grow like tree rings, each band holding a record of the ocean's past temperature chemistry storms and seasons long gone. Scientists read these natural archives to trace climate history, uncovering patterns like El Nino events and centuries of warming. Corals are living libraries, storing stories of Earth beneath their stony skin. Communication in the ocean comes in unexpected forms. Some fish create sonic blasts by vibrating muscles near their swim bladders, underwater drums echoing through the dark. The oyster toadfish whistles like a boat horn to defend territory and call for mates. In a world where sight fades quickly, sound becomes language, warning invitation and identity. Ocean currents form spiraling eddies, swirling blue galaxies of water that can last for weeks or months. They pull nutrients from the deep, lifting them to sunlight where life blooms. Phytoplankton flourish, fish gather, seabirds circle, and whales follow. These nutrient-rich whirls become floating banquet halls in the open sea. Even tiny creatures show surprising tenderness. Some crustaceans, like crabs and shrimp, perform elaborate dances to attract a mate, flashing colors and tapping claws like ritual choreography. Afterward, many guard their eggs, carry their young, and protect them until they are strong enough to survive alone. In a world of currents and danger, care becomes a strategy for life. Far below all of this, where sunlight never reaches the seafloor, cracks open. Hydrothermal vents roar, with superheated water rich in minerals, lighting the dark with chemical warmth. Here, entire ecosystems thrive. Without sunlight, bacteria feed on chemical energy. Giant tube worms bloom like red-tipped flowers, and strange crustaceans wander through shimmering plumes. These worlds prove that life does not need light, only energy, mystery, and adaptation. Water itself shapes the ocean's structure. Salt water is heavier than fresh water, so it sinks and forms layered worlds warm above cold, below fresh, where rivers meet the sea. These layers guide currents' nutrients and the lives that depend on them. A slight shift can change who survives, who grows, who disappears. In the deep, some fish carry windows into their own skulls. The barrel-eye fish has a transparent head, its tubular eyes gazing upward through the dome to spot prey outlined by faint traces of light. In eternal night, innovation becomes survival. And at the base of it all, plankton drift with the tide's tiny, delicate essential. They feed the ocean, release oxygen into the sky, and respond instantly to temperature change. A few degrees warmer, a subtle shift in current, and entire food webs transform. Plankton are the ocean's heartbeat, small but powerful enough to shape the world. Since plankton forms the foundation of the marine food web, even small temperature changes ripple outward, like waves in a pond, shifting fish populations, redirecting seabirds, and affecting whales and dolphins that depend on them. Seasonal plankton blooms rely on a fragile balance of sunlight and cool waters, and as oceans warm, these rhythms risk breaking. A tiny change at the bottom can reshape the entire ocean above. Yet in the darkness where light fades, life glows. Bioluminescence. Living light flickers like stars in the deep. Squid flash pulses to confuse predators. Jellyfish shimmer gently to disguise themselves beneath moonlit waves. Some creatures use light to lure prey, others to send warnings, to find mates, or simply to be seen in a world where vision is rare. The ocean speaks in light, where sound and color disappear. Just above, at the very surface, lies an invisible frontier, the microlayer. Only millimeters thin, it is a delicate skin between sea and sky. Here, specialized microbes dance in chemicals, and sunlight trading gases, with the atmosphere shaping clouds, cycling nutrients across worlds. But because this layer touches air directly, it also absorbs pollution first, reminding us that even the thinnest layer can hold a universe. In sunlit shallows, algae promise a future of energy. Some marine algae grow fast and drink in carbon dioxide, converting sunlight into fuel-rich biomass. With no need for farmland or fresh water, they hint at sustainable biofuels, power born from waves and light. Science pushes forward, hoping one day ocean plants may help fuel our cities and ease our footprint on Earth. But not all ocean stories are hopeful. Dead zones, places where oxygen falls away, are spreading. Fertilizer and sewage feed algal blooms that die decay and drain oxygen from the water. Climate change warms the sea, making oxygen even harder to hold. In these silent waters, fish vanish, ecosystems collapse, and life fades. Protecting the ocean means healing these wounds at their source. Still, some species endure through extraordinary journeys. Salmon are born in rivers, drift to the open ocean to grow strong, then swim thousands of miles back to the very stream where they began. To do this, they carry a secret, the ability to survive in both fresh and salt water, adjusting their bodies with each transition. Their journey is ancient, perilous, and deeply woven into the cycle of land and sea. Deep beneath the waves lie hidden worlds, underwater canyons carved through time. Places like Monterey Canyon plunge deeper than the Grand Canyon itself. Their walls funnel nutrients downward, creating corridors of life in the dark. These vast landscapes are rich, but mysterious, rarely visited, rarely seen, a reminder of how much of our planet remains unexplored. And across open oceans, sea turtles navigate with astonishing precision, guided not by landmarks, but by Earth's magnetic field. They sense the planet like a compass inside their bones. They cross empty seas, return to the beaches where they once hatched, and lay eggs for the cycle to begin again. Their memory is written not in mind, but in magnetism. At the heart of the ocean's abundance is upwelling, cold, nutrient-rich water rising from the deep to feed life above. Where upwelling flows, plankton, bloom fish, gather birds wheel, and whales sing. These currents are the ocean's breath-pulling life upwarded from the darkness. As we continue drifting deeper into this blue world, new marvels emerge like quiet secrets rising from the seafloor. In the twilight of the ocean, live ancient guardians, giant barrel sponges, organisms so patient, so slow in their growth that a single one can witness centuries pass. Some are believed to survive for over 2,000 years, filtering water day by day, cleansing it of bacteria and tiny particles. They are living archives, each layer of their body holding chemical traces of past oceans like rings inside an ancient tree. Yet even these timeless beings are fragile, threatened by warming seas and pollution. Protecting them is not just about saving a species, it's about preserving pages of Earth's history written in living form. And the ocean does not merely hold life, it choreographs it. The pull of the tides, guided by the moon and sun, acts like a cosmic heartbeat. Many marine creatures wait for these rhythmic rises and falls to begin their most important ritual reproduction. Schools of fish armies, of crabs and coral colonies release their eggs in synchrony with high tide or lunar phases. Carried by currents, their young drift away from danger, spreading life across vast waters. It is nature's timing perfectly tuned by gravity and light. Some animals have evolved even more mysterious abilities. In murky waters, where sight is useless, certain fish communicate and hunt through electric fields. Electric eels deliver powerful shocks to stun prey, while species like elephant fish use gentle pulses like underwater radar mapping the world through electricity alone. A language of currents silent and invisible, yet precise enough to find food in total darkness. Far below, where the light never reaches the seafloor, seeps oil and gas through cracks in the crust. And still, but it persists. Bacteria feast on hydrocarbons, forming the base of strange communities where tube worms and clams flourish. These ecosystems prove something profound, that life can bloom even in places built from oil and shadow. Not all movement in the ocean is horizontal. Sometimes deep cold waters rise upward in a slow, powerful motion called upwelling. With them come nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, fertilizing the sunlit surface and feeding phytoplankton, the tiny plants that support the entire marine food chain. Because of this nutrient surge, regions like the coast of California and Peru become some of the richest fishing grounds on Earth. Upwelling doesn't just sustain life, it helps regulate carbon fueling photosynthesis that draws CO2 from the atmosphere, subtly shaping the planet's climate. But the ocean's balance is delicate. As humanity releases more carbon dioxide, the sea absorbs it, becoming slightly more acidic. This shift may seem small, yet it affects how fish sense the world, sometimes confusing their ability to detect predators, making them bolder, more vulnerable. A tiny change in chemistry can ripple across ecosystems, altering relationships between hunter and prey, and ultimately touching the livelihoods of human communities. Even so, the ocean remains a place of astonishing endurance. Greenland sharks, for instance, glide slowly through the icy North Atlantic, living well over 2 centuries. Their long lives move at the tempo of cold water and slow metabolism. Studying them offers us clues about aging resilience and how the ocean remembers time longer than any human lifetime. The sea also plays with light. Its surface reflects about 6% of the sunlight that reaches it, a thin, shimmering mirror that influences Earth's temperature balance. When ice melts or cloud cover shifts, this reflectivity changes, altering how much heat stays on our planet. The ocean is not just a habitat, it is a climate engine, and beneath the waves, a glimmer of hope is growing. Scientists have discovered marine bacteria capable of breaking down plastic, nibbling away at pollution one molecule at a time. They work slowly, but they show us that solutions may already exist within the ocean itself. We only need to learn from them. Now, as our descent comes gently to an end, let the vastness of the ocean drift into stillness within you. Imagine the slow sway of seagrass, the soundless glide of sharks older than empires, the rhythmic pull of tides breathing in and out. The world beneath the waves continues its patient cycles, mysterious and alive, even when we close our eyes. So as you rest, let the ocean cradle your thoughts like waves smoothing sand on a quiet shore. Thank you for journeying with me through these wonders of the deep. If this voyage brought you peace or sparked your curiosity, consider liking and subscribing to the Sleepy Science channel, where knowledge flows like calm water every night. Sleep deeply, stay curious, and until we meet again, may the ocean's gentle embrace carry you softly into dreams.